morning, everyone. So we're going to talk about mindfulness. Everybody familiar with mindfulness? You know what this is? So, is that better? Yeah. Oh, I can hear myself now too. So, we're going to talk about mindfulness, lean, and coaching. How many people here are practicing coaching with people? You coach your people in lean? So a few. How many people would consider themselves familiar with lean concepts? You know what lean is. Almost everyone. How many people practice mindfulness? Few, quite a few, maybe 10%. So I'm suggesting that there is a tool that we can all access, and it's the power of being present in the current moment that will change your ability to be a good lean thinker. So let's talk about this, and I'm not just going to talk for 50 minutes. You're going to actually do some experiments. You're going to do some exercises, okay? So let's see how this goes. A little bit about me. I've been doing lean for over 20 years. When I started lean, it wasn't called lean. It was called world-class manufacturing. It wasn't, the name lean hadn't even been coined yet. But even before that, I started doing yoga and meditation. And about 10 years into my lean journey, I realized there was an alignment between mindfulness and lean thinking. And that's what I'd like to share with you. So these are some of the great companies that I've had a chance to work with. And everything that I'm sharing, really, I owe to them. They were the companies that allowed me to learn, to make mistakes, and to grow. So what do we want to do? We want to really become more focused, more patient. We want to be more effective at lean thinking. We want to be better coaches, and we want to, hopefully you will leave and be inspired to try something new. If you go back to work on Monday and you say, you know, I'm really going to give that a shot, I'm going to give it a try, then I think this has been a good use of your time. We shall see. We want to understand this concept called self-awareness. Self-awareness means I'm here right now and I'm not thinking about the meeting, the emails, picking up my kids, the laundry. I'm not thinking about anything but this moment. Is that easy to do? For most people, it's not. How many people right now aren't even listening to what I'm saying? Oh, see, this person said, absolutely, I'm not. I knew it. So really, it's about being a better coach. And if we're not focused on the people that we're working with, can they tell? Can people know whether or not you are focused? Sure, absolutely. If your eyes are out, if you're going, but your face is saying, I'm not listening, we can tell, we can feel it. So we're not authentic. If you're not authentic, you cannot connect with people. If you can't connect with people, it's hard to be a good coach. It's hard to be a good leader because they don't really feel that their opinion matters or that they matter. So we've got a lot of lean experts in the room, so we're going to go very quickly on this. For those that are new to lean, if there's anyone, I like to say lean is really a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking about how to create a highly effective organization. You define what highly effective means to yourself. But it's really about creating and flowing customer value. We want to do that with the least amount of effort required. And typically, the tools that we use are all around structured problem solving, removing waste, and really creating that flow for our customer. That's enough lean. So if you go way back in the early books of Taiichi Ohno, you'll see it's a diagram similar to this. And when we look at lean, you notice there are two pillars of lean. There's continuous improvement and there's respect for people. Where do most of us focus when we do lean at our company? Where do we focus? Which pillar? Continuous improvement. So continuous improvement is very important, but continuous improvement is where all the tools live. So how many people are doing value stream mapping? A3 problem solving, 5S, standard work, Hosh and Conry. We go, oh yeah, this is where we live. So how many people are doing respect for people? A few, good. But it's amazing, it's like a tennis player. Have you ever seen a tennis player? A professional tennis player? Do you ever notice anything about their arms? Have you ever seen a tennis player? One arm is very, very big and strong. It looks like a cannon. What does the other arm look like? It looks like a twig. It looks like a stick. This is our organization. We're strong on tools, but we're weak or not as developed on respect for people. Mindfulness can play a big, big part in how you can do this. So let's talk about how we can get there. What we want to do is be a great coach. So a coach, when you think of a coach, I like to say a coach definitely helps another person, but really we want to be like a forklift. What does a forklift do? Does a forklift lift somebody up to the level of the forklift? Or does a forklift lift the person up higher than the forklift? Which one? Higher. So how do we do that if we can't connect, if we can't really understand the other person or what they need? The only way to do it is to develop some very good coaching skills. Now, when I think of a coach, we're developing people, we're showing respect, we're leading by example, we're inspiring. We know these things. But if you break it down, coaching has many, many skills. These are some of the skills that we need to develop as a good coach. But if you look at these skills, they kind of fall into two areas. When you think of the ability to reflect, to coach, to support, to challenge another person, what kind of skills does that take? Well, those are basic coaching skills. We can learn those. We can teach those. But what about the skills of observation, going to Gemba, listening deeply, being present in the moment and not thinking about other things? These are the skills of mindfulness. And these are the skills that most people, we don't even talk about it. So do you remember when you were a little child and you were going to school, your teachers or your parents said, you need to focus. Did you get that? You need to focus. You need to do your homework. You need to focus on what's important. Did anybody, was it just me that got that? You got that too. You need to focus. But did anybody tell us how to focus? They just kind of assumed that we knew what it meant to focus. You need to focus. Well, it turns out you can actually learn and be better at focusing, which will make you a more effective leader, human being, parent, friend, neighbor. It's just better all around. So the first thing, of course, is we want to focus on the present moment. Not the past, not the future, right now, nothing else. The next thing we want to do is be aware where our thinking is concentrated. So if I'm focusing on right now, but my mind starts to drift, I know that. I can quickly say, I'm not here. I know I'm not here. Once that happens, I want to be able to not judge what's happening. I want to be able to watch my thoughts without judging. Why is that important? The moment I judge my thought, I have more thinking. In other words, I put a label on where I'm thinking, and it just takes me further away from where I need to be. And finally, it's really about conscious living. It's an art. It's an art of conscious living. And I believe if we want to change our organization, we start with ourselves. And we start with practicing this art. So why is it so hard to focus? Well, I'll give you a clue. How many people might have one of these? So we are bombarded with information. How many people right now are texting their spouse, or checking on work, or looking at email? It's very, very difficult not to be someplace else. I travel a lot. I love to watch people. This is typically what I see when I go anywhere in the world. Most people are not connecting. We're connecting through technology, but we're not necessarily connecting one-on-one. Isn't it true? Do you see this wherever you go? Is it true in Iceland? So we have a very, very interesting situation. It's good that we have the technology. It's a wonderful tool, but it's not helping us be more mindful, be better focusers. This is where we are right now. This is pretty much what it looks like for most people. So it's what we call the perfect storm. Here's the perfect storm. We've got our technology that's constant. We have our Twitter and our Facebook and our emails and on and on and on. Good stuff, but too much to focus necessarily. On top of that, we have a million things going on in our life. I know in the States, I saw a statistic that the average American spends 11 and a half hours a day on electronics. 11 and a half a day. Now, most people sleep about 7 or 8 hours, right? So that only leaves about 4 or 5 hours that you're not plugged in? That's pretty crazy. Then on top of that, we've got rush. We've got work and responsibilities and pick up the kids and drive them to soccer practice, all that. So what does that lead to? It leads to stress. It leads to the ability not to focus, to be impatient, to not necessarily be aware of really what's happening in the current moment. It creates a situation where we can't be mindful. This is what your mind looks like. It's cloudy. There are many things floating around inside that brain, so it's very, very difficult to think deeply and clearly. What we want to do is clarify that. So we're going to do it with an exercise. And I know we've got a big group here. I want everybody on this side no, I'm kidding. What we're going to do is we're going to do something at your table. This is a listening exercise, So how many people find that listening is a challenge? Have you ever been talking to somebody and they say, you're not listening? Like your spouse maybe? And you say, what do we say when your spouse says you're not listening? What do we say? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And then what does our spouse say? What did I just say? What did I just say? And then we're busted because we go, you asked me what you just said. And no, you weren't listening. So what we're going to do is try to learn how to listen deeply with mindfulness. I love this quote. It's really about listening being a lot more than just hearing words. We're trying to tap into the feeling of the other person. That takes a lot more bandwidth, a lot more focus than just hearing words. So we're going to do your groups of 2, and we're going to just do a very short experiment because we don't have a lot of time, but I want you to experience this. So if you're in a table with an odd number of people, just find a neighbor, make friends, say hello. And this is what we're going to do. For 1 minute, the speaker, we're going to do 2 rounds. So one person is the speaker, the other person is the listener. For 1 minute, the speaker is the only one that can talk. And they're going to just talk about anything they want, about themselves, their job, lean. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Then I've got a little bell up here. I'm going to hit my bell, and then the listener is going to say, this is what I heard you say. And then I'm going to hit my bell again, and the speaker is going to say, that's not what I said, or that is what I said. You're a very good listener. That's the experiment. That's it. Then we're going to do a mindfulness exercise, and we're going to switch roles and do it a second time and see if we can improve our listening. Sound good? So first of all, find a partner. In 30 seconds, I'm going to hit the bell, and then you're going to talk about your problem. Okay, get ready. Get ready. You've got 1 minute. Describe your problem. Okay, now the listener, tell the speaker what you heard. Explain what you heard. 1 minute. Okay, now the speaker, let the listener know if they understood what you were trying to say, and if not, clarify. So let them know if they were a good listener. Okay, so that was round one. So how many people found there were some pretty good listeners out there? Not bad? Quite a few. That's good. Did anybody feel they needed to take notes? Okay, I didn't say you shouldn't, but really do you know, for something like this, it's okay not to take notes. I know we're a lot of high achievers in here, but we don't have to do that. So a question that comes up a lot is this question right here. Is mindfulness a spiritual thing? Is it religious? And if so, you know, I don't know about this. What's this all about? Do I have to be a monk? Do I have to wear an orange robe or something like that? Well, it turns out that mindfulness, actually, when you trace it back, there's early texts that go 4,500 years ago. People were thinking about this. So yes, it does go way back. And you can trace it to the early Buddhist and Taoist practices and early ancient yoga. But really all it's about is saying, I don't want to be on autopilot. I don't want to go through my life mindlessly living my life and not really being here for this. So what if I said to you, how would you like to live a life that is 25% longer? How many people would say, I'll take it? I haven't met a lot of people that say, I don't want another 25, no, I don't want it. I'm ready to go right now. You don't get that. What if you could be more present and focused 25% of the time? In a way, that's like living a deeper, richer life than not really being here. So it's not like you can get more years. I can't do that, but I can get much deeper quality. So have you ever gotten home from the end of a busy day and you say, I don't know what I did today? I was busy, but I don't know what I did. So really this is about waking up, moving away from autopilot. Here's another way to think about it. We have a wandering mind and we want to get focused. So that little B is our current focus. That's where we are. And for some people, their mind is buzz, buzz, buzz. They're all over the place. The flower is what we want to focus on. This could be the email we're trying to write. This could be the person we're trying to coach. This could be the lean problem that we're trying to understand. This could be going to the Gemba and really seeing something for the first time. You know this term, beginner's eyes, seeing something with fresh eyes. What we want to do is move to this, where our focus is actually on what we want to focus on. We want to align that. That's what mindfulness looks like. So we're going to do a simple exercise here. Before we do, here's a few tips. First of all, be aware of what you're thinking of right now. So ask yourself right now, what am I thinking about? Don't judge it. Just say, what am I thinking about? Maybe I'm thinking about that bee on that last slide. Maybe I'm thinking about being here right now. Maybe I'm thinking about the weather outside. So first you become aware of where you are. Then you focus on the task. And then here's the key. When you feel, hey, wait a second, I'm thinking about something else, you gently say, I need to come back. I just want to refocus. So I'm going to just say, oh, I'm drifting. Now I'm going to bring my mind back. And each time we do, how many people go to the gym? Anybody go to the gym here? So people lift weights, right? So every time you lift a weight, is that a good thing? Yeah, that's called a rep, right? You can tell I'm a bodybuilder. So this is a picture of me from a few years ago. So this, every time you take your focus and say, hey, wait a second, I need to be back on something else, and you pull your focus back, it's just like a rep in a gym. So every time you do this, it's a good thing. So don't beat yourself up and say, I can't focus, I'm drifting, I can't do this. You just simply say, I need to pull myself back very gently. So here's our exercise, and then we're going to do listening again. So either you can close your eyes or you can leave your eyes open, whatever you're comfortable with. This group looks like we're going to have a lot of people leaving their eyes open. No, or you can close your eyes if you want to. Let me explain this. You should have seen this table over here. They're looking at each other and they're going, I'm not closing my eyes. I'm not with this group. So all you do is you become aware of your breathing. Just become aware of your breathing. You inhale, you exhale, and you just, inside your head, you mentally say, 1. And then inhale and exhale, 2. Inhale, exhale, 3. And do this to 5, and then go 5 to 1. Now inhale deeply, and if your eyes are closed, slowly open your eyes. Now turn to your partner and switch roles. If you were the speaker before, this time you're going to be the listener. Think about what you want to talk about and begin. Okay, so now we're going to build on this skill and apply it much more directly to coaching. But can we be a good coach if we're not a good listener? Probably not, because you can't relate to the person. You won't be able to connect with the other person. So even if you have some great ideas, you're not going to be an effective coach. I've never seen a poor listener that was a great coach. It doesn't work. So let's talk about coaching for a little bit. There's many different styles of coaching, but the most effective one that I've found is called coaching through questions. Coaching through questions. And this is the skill to ask open-ended questions. So you're not telling somebody what to do. You're asking them questions to help them develop their own problem-solving skill. That's really a great coach. If you're telling somebody what to do, you may be helping them solve a problem, and that could be called for, but I really wouldn't call that coaching. That's more teaching or directing or managing. When I'm thinking of coaching, you're really asking the other person to think for themselves. So this diagram is a great way to illustrate the difference between coaching and directing. Really what we want to focus on is, if you're the coach, is not the problem, it's the other person's thinking. So if I'm trying to solve the problem for the other person, I'm not really helping them. It's as if somebody comes to you and says, I'm hungry, and you keep giving them a meal. You don't tell them how to make their own food or how to hunt, or it's Iceland, you'd probably go out and hunt. Or go to the store and get food. You just say, oh, here's food, here's food. You just create a dependency. Really, when we talk about coaching, we're talking about developing that capability in that person. So we could spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to give you a quick little taste. So the questions on the left are questions that we call helping questions. The questions on the right are questions that we call not so much help. So look at the two columns. What do you notice about the column on the left versus the column on the right? Are those the same kinds of questions? No, they're not. The column on the left are very open-ended questions, aren't they? Notice how the column on the right, you're almost judging the other person, you're leading the other person, you're telling them, don't you think you should do this? I'm not sure if that's going to work. Are you sure that's going to work? There's an expression that they use in the States. They say, would you bet your paycheck? You know, are you that sure that you would bet your next paycheck on that idea? That's not coaching, that's threatening somebody. So just because you put a question mark on it doesn't mean it's really a question. Such as, don't you think you should go get more data? Is that really a question? No, you're asking it, but you're really telling them to go get more data. Look at the questions on the helping side. What's the problem you're trying to solve? What should be happening versus what is happening? They're much more questions that allow the other person to think on their own. So you're going to get an opportunity to practice these questions, Now, before we do you think it would be a good idea to have the ability to focus when you're doing this kind of a coaching session? Yeah, if you can't focus, you will generally use which kinds of questions? If you're not self-aware, where do we tend to go? We get very directive, and we're not helping at all. We tend to just tell people, don't you think you should try this? You ought to do that. I've done this before. That's not the kind of coaching we need in Lean. In Lean, it's all about developing people. So in this exercise, we need groups of three. 3 people, you're going to get together. And we have 3 roles. We have the coach, we have the learner, that's the person that's going to be coached, and we have a third person who's going to watch what's working and what isn't working. They're going to be the observer. Everybody clear on the 3 roles? So break up into groups of 3, and what we're going to do is I'll ring the bell again. You've got 30 seconds. If you're the learner, you've got 30 seconds to say, here's my problem. So this time you need a problem. Then the coach is going to ask questions, and then the observer is going to say what they observed. So get into your groups. I'm going to put up these questions so you have something to go with. Ready? Groups of 3. And person with the problem, begin. 30 seconds. Okay, so that was round 1. Now for the people that were coaching, how many coaches felt they were pretty present? They were focused. They could be mindful. It's a couple hands. How many people found it was difficult to focus and also think of the right question to ask? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was my experience too when I did this years ago. I wasn't really listening. I was thinking, what's a good question to ask? But the problem is, if I'm thinking about the next question, I'm not even there for the other person. So it's kind of like, that's not really what I'm after. So obviously this is a good one because I need to be very, very self-aware, very focused. And I also remember we talked about being non-judgmental. I don't want to label something. Think about coaching. Have you ever been coaching somebody and they say something and in your mind you think, that's a dumb idea? But what's wrong with having that thought if you're the coach? Would the other person pick up on that maybe? What if you make a face? What if you just the words you use, it's just not really good for healthy coaching. When you have that, if you hear that voice in your head that says, well, that's a dumb idea, if we've been practicing, we can say, that's just a thought. I'm going to do another rep. I'm in the gym. I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm just going to do another rep, and I'm going to just bring it back. It's amazing if you just practice this, how quickly the brain starts to change. Your thinking you become aware of where your focus is. It's not really that difficult. So what we're going to do is try the breathing exercise again, and then we're going to do another coaching round, and we'll just switch roles. So once again, you can either close your eyes or not. Become aware of your breathing, and then inhale, exhale, and count. And just do that up to 5, and then from 5 back to 1. And inhale deeply. Now slowly open your eyes. Turn to your group. Decide who's going to be the coach, who's going to be the learner, who's going to be the observer, and begin. Okay, so how did that round go? Did anybody notice a difference between when we did the coaching exercise the first time and the second time? Could you feel a difference between the impact of the mindfulness technique? A little bit. You just got a little sample, but if this interests you, what I would suggest is, how many people are practicing going to Gemba to go and see? Some people do this. So one thing you can do is, before you go to Gemba, back at your cubicle or just standing in the hallway, just try a few deep breaths. It's something that you can do without drawing a lot of attention to yourself. You don't need to sit on the floor, it's cross-legged, and have a little bell or anything like that. You can if you want to, but you really don't have to at all. You could just say, I'm just going to do a few breaths. Other people have noticed that this is very good if you're going into an important meeting, or you have a presentation to give, or you need to talk to your child about something important. Any of these things, it can really ground you and make you a better version of yourself, because it just takes what you are, which is a really good person, and just brings it right to the front. That's what this is really about. It's just being present. So we just went through our exercises, and I want to leave you with a few more tips. So here's 4 additional ways to sharpen your focus. Reflection is such a powerful thing. At the end of every day, ask yourself, what did I learn today? At the end of every meeting, at the end of every thing you do, just kind of ask yourself in the background, what is this moment teaching me? That is one way to do it. Another one we talked about and we practiced today is use the breath to come into the present moment. So the breath is free. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got the same tool. This is a great tool to teach a young person. So I've worked with some kids and I've shown them this, and it's amazing how they use it. They can tell when they're getting a little excited or nervous or frustrated, and they can use breathing too. Another one is to remove time from the situation. What I mean by that is time, there's two kinds of time. There's clock time, which is a tool. We need that. We need to know we have a meeting to go to, we have a schedule to follow, what day of the week it is. That's a good tool. But there's also something called psychological time. Psychological time is not real. Psychological time is living in the past or living in the future. And those really are just made up. That's just something that's happening inside your head. If you find that you're spending most of your time in psychological time, you're not here. If you're not here, you're missing the essence of what's in front of you. It's very hard to be a good coach. It's hard to be a learning person. And lean, of course, is all about learning for an entire lifetime. Last but not least, be humble. You need to be humble. And what I mean by humble is, I had the opportunity, I was in Paris two mornings ago, and I had breakfast with Dan Jones. You know Dan Jones of Lean Thinking? And I said to Dan, we were talking about lean, of course, and I said to Dan, the more I learn about lean, the less I really feel I know. And he said, I think you're getting it. He said, I think you're getting it. So in other words, it's not about saying, I'm the expert, I know everything, and I'm so smart. It's really about saying, there's so much out there. Can I learn something new today? And can I learn something from everyone I meet? It doesn't matter who they are, what their experience base is, whether they're new in the company, whether they're young or old. It doesn't matter. How can I open myself up to the teachings and the learning of my life? That will also bring you present. So those are 4 additional things. One final thought. Oh, and what it will do is it will clarify your mind. Remember the mind with the snow? If we use these techniques, we have a little Christmas ball that looks a little better. So here's one final thing you can do. Pick a simple task that you have to do every day. It could be brushing your teeth, washing the dishes, folding clothes, even driving to work. Anything will do, anything at all. Eating your lunch will do too. And simply practice these techniques. Become aware of what I'm thinking about. If I'm doing the dishes, I want to really focus. What does the water feel like on my hands? What is the temperature of the water? What do I see? What are the bubbles? What's the sound? I want to really, really get there and try to see it, hear it, feel it, every bit of it. And I want to be there. Now, when I do that, quickly I'll start thinking, oh, there's a television program I want to watch tonight. That's another rep. I'm going to go, whoop. I want to gently pull myself back to the dishes, and I just want to be present. So whenever I drift, whenever I daydream, if I start worrying, if I start planning, I'm a planner. That's where my mind goes. Do we have any planners in here? We start planning. We've been doing it our whole life, so our brain is conditioned. When you do that, here's a helpful little tip. Smile. Instead of go, oh shoot, there I'm planning again. Instead I go, there's the planner. It's me. There he is. Kind of like a little kid. Would you get upset with a little kid if, say, they spilled their milk? No, you would say he's a 2-year-old. He's spilled his milk. Treat yourself that way. Just say, there's my little planner. Get along now. Get along. It's okay. And then just pull yourself back to whatever you're focusing on. It makes a big difference. And it's actually a lot of fun. When you get back to work, pick one area that you could try this with. Just pick one thing that you can try this and mindfulness on. And then ask yourself, how will I measure my progress? It's very important to measure progress. If not, you won't know if you're making an improvement or not. So it could be somebody you're coaching, it could be going to the Gemba, it could be your problem-solving skills. There's nothing in lean that mindfulness will not make better. Nothing. So I want to say thank you, and I should say tak.